Hello and welcome back to Coinscrum's Meet the Founders. We're joined today by Jolyon of TotemFi and his brother Harry as well. Welcome, Jolyon and Harry. Great to have you.
How are you doing, Oscar? Lovely to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Oscar, nice to meet you.
Perfect. So it's been really interesting reading through your white paper and catching up on your project over the past few days. But maybe could you give us a bit of a background on you both and how you came to the project today and what your previous life was before crypto?
Yeah, of course. So, it's quite amazing to be here on Coinscrum TV because actually a lot of this journey started in 2013 with Paul Gordon. So at the time I was running a music festival, and while I also had another job helping out a tech conference as the sort of intern. They were like, "Oh, you're young, you can sort out the Bitcoin stage." It was there that we then booked Paul. He gave his big speech about this was the future of everything, and 21 million Bitcoin, 7 billion people, all the use cases, and it was just a wow moment. And then I was like, right, told everyone I knew, bought as much as I could afford, and of course the next day, next week, 90% drop. Bang, that real raw feeling that you have when you've just seen a red candle like that. And obviously it's fine, hold for dear life. And we carried on. I've had various roles in startups and FTSE 100s in marketing and growth. And then the last few years I've been working for a top exchange and helped was an early employee and went from this 1 to 7 million customers. And that has been an awesome journey there. So yeah.
Yeah. And as you said, I'm Harry's brother. So he prompted, or as you'd say, pushed me into crypto in 2013-14, which has been a good brotherly lesson to start off for sure. And then since then, I've had more of a traditional finance background, so corporate and international tax, alongside being CFO of a mental wellbeing charity in the UK, and then also some One Young World and Chartered Accountants Worldwide task force stuff. So lots going on. And then we sort of, over the last 7 months, been plugging behind the scenes on TotemFi, really trying to contribute meaningfully to the crypto space and the flourishing ecosystem that's going on there. So it's just been like super exciting to get stuck in, meet so many people, and hopefully build something pretty cool.
That's really, really interesting. Thanks for that. So maybe from there, how did you get to prediction markets?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was hoping you'd tell us, Oscar, but no. I think it's a combination of things. Where the first was like
DeFi summer.
The DeFi summer, we were seeing a lot of purely staking coins coming out, where the only functionality was like, look, you look up your staking coin for 15, 30, 60, 100 days, whatever it might be, that fixed term. And we thought, on top of that, if you could add in the functionality of having predictions where you enter these prediction pools for a fixed period, and then you have to predict the price of that particular on-chain asset at the end of the pool. And then you get staking returns throughout the prediction pool. And then additionally, you get an additional return for how well you predict. So it's kind of like additionally on top of that. And then we saw Vitalik tweeting about prediction markets being underserved. There's obviously a huge bridge to the traditional world where, if you nail prediction markets or have those kind of solutions, that people will be interested in it. So I think there was like a few things where I hadn't quite, there's a lot of amazing products out there, but I think where we were aiming for, which I guess we'll talk about later, where we're aiming to land, we still think it was like underserved. So I think it's kind of like the combination of things is where we landed on that from. I don't know if you have anything to add there.
Yeah, and just to make it like really accessible, that was the key goal. Kind of strip back a lot of the clutter and on some of the other things. I think also, as gas fees will eventually, we'll chat about later, but as gas fees go down and it will be a lot easier to use, that will also help.
So yeah, tell us a little bit more about who makes up your team today.
So yeah, we're super lucky to have built a really cool team, based all over the world, and based by people that are really passionate about crypto and all have just sort of jumped in. We got like a strong dev team, which we built up. Lots of Solidity devs, front end devs. We've got the branding, got all the community. So yeah, a lot of really passionate people, sort of all helping to make this happen.
Yeah, I think a lot of good independent hustlers who are coming together. A bit on the branding is that the Totem is like a family. The pack of the animals And that's how it's kind of, we're obviously brothers, and that's very much the foundation of it, where, you know, we're coming together to try and build something, one, that's going to be engaging, and two is kind of that everyone in the company and foundation really cares about.
Yeah.
Perfect. No, that's really interesting. And so tell us a little bit more about your dApp and how you built it, since it's become a really popular thing nowadays on DeFi, but I think very few people talk about the keys to success of building a dApp. How did you guys go about it?
Yeah. Well, I think we had some good connections to kind of award-winning designers, and we worked very closely with a couple of them and like the front-end devs to make sure the UX UI was really sleek and on point, because as Harry mentioned, accessibility was definitely one of the things we're pushing for. And having used a lot of those dApps out there, there's a huge variation in some very clunky, difficult ones. You know, you're staking however much you're staking, sometimes thousands for some people, and you're really unsure where it's quite going to or what's going to happen if you do end up falling through on that transaction. So what we're really keen to do is has very succinct information, strong dynamic ROI calculators, clear instructions, tooltips, these kind of bits that really adds the whole user experience to actually entering a prediction. So people aren't in those compromising positions, or interacting with MetaMask can sometimes be difficult, because if we're trying to attract all types of people to actually interact with the dApp, then we're going to need to make sure that it's easy to do so. So that's definitely what we've been focusing on, and having it very like illustrative. I don't know, we can hopefully share some sneak peeks of the UI to make sure you can see like exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, and also trying to get it built relatively close to TGE. So, you know, we'll go out with our main coin, and then a few months on from then, it'll be ready to go and people will be able to use it.
So if you're making this very accessible, my next question was really about your target audience. So I guess you're gonna really target the mass from here on. Can you explain a bit more about how you came about that and how you're gonna execute that?
Yeah. Well, I'll jump in here on this bit. So I guess the actual dApp design and the prediction model, I think it's initially going to be hopefully targeted to a lot of people. So we've got this non-punitive prediction model. So when you predict, you actually won't be penalized for inaccurate predictions. So if you make a prediction for Bitcoin to be $60,000 at the end of a 15-day period, and it, you know, melts to 200,000, one of the key barriers to entry to prediction markets is people aren't expert analysts or charters, and they don't spend a lot of time thinking, okay, doing my Elliott wave theory, I'm going to be here in 15 days. And that's specifically relevant in crypto where it's so volatile. So we wanted something where we could make sure that, you know, people who are adept charters and analysts can do well from using our prediction model, but at the same time, people who are less experienced and maybe starting their way in the DeFi or prediction world aren't put off actually entering into our prediction protocol. So that was where we were thinking about the specific communities that we were aiming for, and that's that bit of.
Yeah, and I think in terms of, you know, it's going to be people that are you know, it's not people that haven't bought Bitcoin yet. So there's going to be people that are like, you know, in the journey, but not too deep that they're like, it's entry level basically.
Yeah.
I think hopefully a lot of the people that are backing us in our sort of crowdfunding and our support and buying the token, you know, they're getting the rewards of using it quite easily. So hopefully they will be our start. I know when we were first thinking about it, we needed 1,000 people in order to give away a lot of free Bitcoin. I mean, how awesome would it be if this time next year we were giving away $1 million of Bitcoin? That'd be just to the community. What a cool thing to do.
And I think also, like, on top of that, we wanted something that's kind of market agnostic, in the sense that, you know, people can still predict when it's going down. It's not just like only predict Bitcoin when it's going up. You know, if you've got a chance to win BTC in something where it's like not the best price action, it's still hopefully going to be good. Yeah.
So in terms of your actual prediction markets, your first one's Bitcoin. And do you guys have anything in the pipeline for future big prediction markets, or do you already have one in production?
Yeah, exactly. So we got quite a few exciting things coming down the line. So there's loads of things that you can do with what we're planning to sort of build, and that's other on-chain assets, your ETH, your Cardano, your DOT, etc. Then you've got off-chain assets potentially in prediction pools, so Tesla, gold, etc. And then we're looking at kind of non-price related events. So you can do a prediction pool for stake for Trump, stake for Biden, those kind of more political or other world events. And then you've got items like we want to be making a event specific. So that would be when will Bitcoin hit 100K, and then you have to enter to predict that the actual date that will happen. I think the main thing is we don't want to look too closely on defining what we are going to be releasing, because we're going to be taking a lot of info and advice from like advisors, investors, mainly the community. When we're bringing out the community governance, the on-chain governance, they're going to be able to spin out their own pools. So whatever the community wants to see, they'll be able to create their own pools to facilitate that. And that's the main thing. We don't want to be dictating, okay, we're doing this pool, we're doing this pool, we're doing that pool. We're going to kick it off, give the on-chain governance, and then it's like we can almost just run with it and make sure that we're producing something that people want to use and people want to engage with. And I think that's the main thing, that dynamism in the market is what we're really trying to ignite. Something that's super interesting, like, oh, these guys have spun up this prediction pool to do this, or there's this thing you can interact with.
And also that's not just within our own pools, like we're the prediction markets haven't been massively solved yet, and we don't think that we can solve it on our own, and we're talking to other prediction markets and how we can do like cross-chain pools, and all of that is still a long way to go. I think right now we're just focusing on getting this product out, this product working, and if that happens and it supports itself, there's so much scope to go on. And I think that is, and as Jolly says, maybe in the future you'll have the option to use DAI as your stable coin, so you have less exposure.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe now tell us a little bit more about your choice of the technology behind it. It's not necessarily related, but you're building on Ethereum and you have a Bitcoin prediction market. So we know how sectarian the areas can be there. But maybe, with this DeFi rise and the rise in gas prices that you guys have referred to, in terms of accessibility, this question has been risen multiple times. So why did you guys go for an ERC20 token? And tell us a little bit more about that and how that will affect the roadmap.
Yeah. So I think we went for the ERC20 because that's like at the time that we were initially building, that was like the thing that was, all the migration to DOT was coming after that. And that's still that kind of, those things are on the cards where, you're thinking about the scaling or migration to a different chain, or ETH 2.0. No one knows if that's actually going to solve the problem when it eventually comes out.
If it ever arrives.
But I think so. Obviously, you need the smart contract functionality on Ethereum, which we were going to initially build on, and then the Bitcoin is more to address the real value creation. So in lots of DeFi protocols at the moment, the inflation rate is very high. As some of those kind of yield farming protocols expand in total value locked, they have to start giving away like higher and higher amounts, otherwise the APY gets diluted. So we wanted to make sure that the adjusted real rewards of actually interacting with our protocol remain high. So one way you do that is by giving away not your native token, because that means like, oh great, I'm earning 1,000% APY, but look, that means that actually if you go on one of those staking reward websites where it actually shows you the adjusted amounts, you can, some of them are kind of like a 5% overall APY. So it's a kind of a false economy in that sense. So we wanted to address that and say, look, you're getting most of your reward in BTC, or, when we open up an ETH pool, maybe it'll be an ETH. But that really means that like, oh, sick, I'm getting 50% ROI in Bitcoin in 15 days. And that's what we really wanted to address there. And that's, I think, why there's that cross chain. But again, we're not set in stone with all these stuff. We don't know everything. And we're making sure that we take on all that feedback from the tech side, from the commercial perspective, from the marketing perspective, to come to that solution where we're happy from all angles that we're kind of addressing those needs and wants from the community, ourselves, tech, etc.
Yeah, and I mean, like a lot of people are like, "Oh, Ethereum's high gas fees is a bad thing." In many ways, you know, we spent the last 7 years proving that there was a use case for this. And yes, it is frustrating that it's expensive at the moment, but that shows the high demand. And I do believe it will be solved. And as Joel says, we are looking at, you know, it's interesting the other chains that we're looking at.
Yeah. We don't want to, we obviously can't say we're moving to this chain, moving to that chain, but there's like a lot of conversations going on behind the scenes, and layer two, like
I'm pretty like chain agnostic, really. I just want what's going to be best for people to have their prediction, make their prediction. You know, if we're giving them these big rewards, we don't want them to be spending 90% of their rewards on gas fees, because that's a horrible experience. So whatever's going to be best for the end user is where we'll end up. And so I think between the team, we are going to get to a good solution.
Yeah.
Hopefully. No, of course we'll.
Yeah. No, I mean, that sounds interesting. And so you referred to Ethereum, and obviously there's been a couple other prediction markets that have been around in the crypto space for a while, notably Augur. So how do you guys differentiate yourselves from them? I understand that the UX piece is a big piece, because having experienced Augur, it wasn't, you know, as seamless as you guys are trying to make Totem. But how do you guys differentiate yourselves?
I think one of the main things here is the non-punitive reward. So you see in a lot of the other prediction markets, you're going to be losing 20 to 100% of your stake. You know, it's you lose, I win. It's staker A gets it correct, staker B might get it incorrect, and it's kind of a zero-sum game, sort of. There's a back and forth. And what we tried to do is put the sort of the pain of the loss on the background volume. So we have a 3% recall function, similar to other DeFi products where, you know, there's like a 2 or 3% on unstaking or selling the coin. And that's what we have. So that means that there's almost like a positive externality of interacting with the protocol. So it's all these people who are just speculating on our token and, you know, background trading volume and not really actually interacting with our community. That's essentially funding the operational costs, the BTC purchases, and other development of the product. And then that's kind of, if you actually interact, you get that staking rewards for being in the prediction pool, and then that extra additional rewards for how your prediction does. And I think that kind of sets us apart, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to sit in a niche in prediction markets where it's not extremely punitive. And like we say, crypto market's so volatile that lots of people don't want to go into those platforms, because if you lose 20 to 100% of your stake, you know, you're in hot water there. Yeah. So that's one of the things. And then the other is giving away BTC rewards is quite unique for staking a native token.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things we'll do is that once you've made your prediction, you'll be able to share it. So I've predicted this, and it'll be a really, you know, you'll be able to be like, I'm making my prediction without having a loss for it. So that could be quite cool when you're all sharing that around. Then yeah, I mean, like I say, we don't feel like we're competing with the prediction markets at the moment. I feel like there's still space for all of them to start working. And, you know, I actually am a big fan of some of the stuff Augur is doing.
Yeah, because a lot of them are doing amazing stuff. And I think we're not saying that we're necessarily solving stuff that they've done wrong. We're just positioning ourselves in a different point.
Yeah. Actually, that was going to be my next question, is from a tokenomics perspective, it was quite interesting to read your white paper and see that, you know, essentially, if I understand correctly, you've got this 3% flat burn or take back fee, whatever, on any interaction with Totem that's going to fund the ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
How did you guys come about that, and I guess why even 3%?
Yeah. So I guess it was a mixture of two things. Is we'd started with the problems and solutions that we kind of wanted to solve, and then we were working out, okay, so if we do want this non-punitive prediction model, how do we get to that point where we can still fund this in a very sustainable way? You know, we wanted to make sure that we thought about the long-term success of the project. And, you know, the 3% is from our current predictions of what we would potentially need on that kind of background volume, those transfers, to make sure that we can fund all those predictions and the prizes, as well as the operational costs and these kind of things. The 3% is not fixed. So if we move to a more sustainable position where we need to go down to like 1%, then that's what we'll do to adjust at that time. But I think to start off, it seems like, you know, that's not an overly overly like draconian measure, because we are at the end offering an awesome protocol to interact with. So it's like it's got to come sort of from somewhere. So hopefully in that way it can be spread across the whole network and not just against like people who are predicting and losing.
Yeah, and of course that will reward people that interact with the platform as opposed to reward people that are just flipping and trading the token.
Yeah. No. So with regards to the rewards you referred to, you also speak about different types of rewards. So you've got the collaborative reward and then the enhanced reward, so some sort of accelerator. So is that part of your incentivization strategy, or is that something you reckon you'll be able to keep for the long term?
Yeah, so definitely one of the things that we've founded the whole project on is this wisdom of the crowds. Like from the Aristotelian idea of the group has a higher propensity to predict, higher accuracy when they predict as a group. We've kind of seen, can the crypto community do the impossible? So this concept is that if the weighted average of all of the predictions are within a certain band, that everyone in that prediction pool gets additionally rewarded. So it's kind of like really makes it not a zero-sum game at all. And that's quite unique because in other traditional prediction markets, you're kind of working against other people. If you win, someone else is probably losing. You're taking their money. Whereas here we're saying, if we do these amazing things where it's like the weighted average of the pool is correct, then everyone gets an additional prize. And we're hoping to keep that long term. This is and it's not like overly massive where it's unrealistic. I think it's an extra quarter. You get an extra 25% if everyone's correct, which is sustainable but also generous if it is correct.
Yeah. No, I mean it was very interesting to read because it seems a bit more democratic to what the other crypto projects are presenting when it's supposed to be a democratization of finance.
Yeah. And then I guess on the enhanced rewards, so the concept behind that is, so the way the pools are set up is there will be an opening period and then the actual pool itself. So it's normally on our initial pool, that will be a 5-day entry period, and then it's a 15-day pool. And what we needed to do is we need to make sure that the people who are entering first are not disadvantaged to someone who's entering 1 hour before the pool closes. Because clearly if 5 days is a long time in crypto, I know it's not in the real world, but if someone's predicting something 5 days before Elon Musk has tweeted Bitcoin's going to 1.5 billion of Bitcoin, then it's not a level playing field. So you get an additional staking return if you enter early, and your staking starts from as soon as you enter. And then you also, on top of that, the winner is judged in chronological order. So if there's two people with an overlapping prediction and their Bitcoin falls both within their prediction range, then the person who entered first wins.
Kind of like an exchange.
It's like a tiebreaker.
Yeah. Tiebreaker order book. So that gives you the incentive to make sure that you are in early, because otherwise you'd wait right until the last moment to make your prediction. But actually, if that tiebreaker situation means that you're incentivized to go in early.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. So you mentioned your investors, but can you talk a little bit more about who they are and how you selected them and how they're going to be key to your roadmap, I guess?
Yeah, we're super lucky in the sense that we've got 6 or 7 really good strategic partners, and then we're also incubated by DuckDAO. So DuckDAO is an amazing organization, and what they're going to do is they're going to help us with the IDO on their launch pad called Duckstarter, but they're also lots and lots of investors have all invested in our token right from the beginning. So therefore, they're going to be supportive of us and hopefully use us along the way. They're very, very knowledgeable. And when we were doing the strategic round, we were blown away. We had over $30 million pledged for our project, which when you thought about the start, when we came up with this idea, it was just unheard of. But yeah, so we had to pick. It was very hard to pick. And we got they've been very strategic at helping us, as Jolly says, locking the liquidity through the rounds.
Yeah. And I think we've been, also a big strength of projects is we've got a lot of strong advisory board behind us. So it's a kind of advisory board of 7 to 10 people, it's ever expanding, but they're always taking a lot of care and interest in the project and making sure, they've got a lot of crypto experience. They've managed a lot of projects. And definitely like some of the people who have been involved and, calling us every day saying, oh, how's it going? What do you need? What introduction do you need? You need to discuss with the auditors. You need to discuss with this. And that's, I think, what's been the main thing. In concept, a lot of the stuff seems simple. And then they say, okay, right, how do you actually go about the mechanics of having the IDO? How do you put it onto Uniswap? But what do you do with that liquidity? And I think having that support, that tier 1 incubation from DuckDAO has been invaluable in that sense. And, everyone they've introduced us to has been taking a genuine interest in the project, and then has said, that the whole private sale just gets distributed to the DDIM holders. So it's like 10,000 ducks, 17,000 ducks. And that kind of that wide distribution of tokens just really promotes the project, because if you have a small bag, it might only be $500 to $5,000, but you feel, you mention it in your groups, their groups, the telegrams, and that's where you really spread and get the wide distribution is definitely so healthy. You go on Etherscan or you go on Dex Tools and you see how many holders there are, and you see some of these projects, they have like 10, 15, 20 holders, and it's like, oh, they're going to dump on you at any moment. So you kind of gain that wide distribution where we have a micro cap, we're launching at 295 K market cap. Our strategic raise was only $255,000. We have a very fair tokenomics where it's not even 1x between seed and public. And we've been really keen to make sure that it's like fair all along the way, because we want to grow with the community rather than overpromise, raise a ton of money and retail get burnt at the end of that when you come out at $100 and so that's always been logical steps always along the way. So, we did get so much interest and picking was extremely hard. But managing going through about 5,000-6,000 response forms and trying to keep building the project and do all the marketing, etc. on the side. It was a big juggling act.
And what a cool way to have so many people involved rather than just the VCs, because isn't that what crypto is all about? It's all about all the different people. And so, as she says, democratizing finance.
Thank you very much, guys. And It's been a pleasure to have you today.
Cheers, Oscar. Thanks so much.
Bye.